We're delighted that the Telegraph agreed to be our media partners this evening, and we're equally delighted that our next speaker could be with us this evening to represent them. He's the former editor of CityAm and a past winner of the IEA Free Enterprise Award. So would you please welcome the Deputy Editor of the Telegraph, Allister Heath. Allister.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. And it's a great pleasure for the Telegraph Media Group to be the media sponsor of this wonderful celebration tonight. And the IEA and the Telegraph have a very long history. In the 1960s, 70s and 80s, when Lord Harris and Arthur Selden were the duo who were running the IEA so brilliantly, they used to write very regularly for the Telegraph. In fact, in preparation for this event, I managed to get someone to dig out these old copies of the Telegraph during the 60s and 70s, and there I saw pieces calling for the privatization of the coal industry and pieces calling for the deregulation of wage setting and so on and so forth, from Arthur Selden and from others. In fact, they published literally hundreds of articles in the Telegraph in those days, and obviously it was a very different time when think tanks didn't have the kinds of outlets that they have today. So it's great for us to be the media partners today, but it was even greater for us to be your media partners during those days. And we continue to report and publish work from the IEA. In fact, I think there's an article from someone who works at the IEA in tomorrow's edition. And if it's not in tomorrow's edition, it'll be in the next few days. So my own relationship with the IEA started a pretty long time ago. I'm quite a fan of Winston Churchill, generally speaking, but he made a few terrible blunders in his day. And he once said something, and I paraphrase slightly. He once said, if you're 18 years old and you're not a socialist, you have no heart. But if you're 35 years old and you're still a socialist, you have no head. And I never agreed with that. I always thought that was utter nonsense. Because when I was relatively young, I wasn't a socialist. In fact, I grew up in France. And when you go to school in France and you try and study economics and you're interested in free markets, especially in those days before the internet, it was a bit of a lonely experience. My economics teacher was a Marxist. My philosophy teacher was a Marxist. My history teacher was a Marxist. My French teacher was a Keynesian, and that was very exciting because he was a man who didn't actually want an immediate Trotskyite revolution to overthrow the system. That was French education in the 1990s. So when I finally turned up in this country in 1995, my first port of call, before I even went to see the London School of Economics, where I was to become an undergraduate, was the IEA. So I turned up. I was ridiculously young, and I had never been anywhere, and I didn't know anything. And I knocked on this door, and the IEA gave me a great welcome, and in particular, John Blundell and Christine Blundell, who were in charge at the time. And they gave me lots of books, and they invited me to events. And as a young person trying to understand the way the world works and trying to find an alternative perspective on the economy and on current events, it was a wonderful time and a wonderful introduction. And I'll be eternally grateful for their help and their assistance in those days. And John's time running the IEA was a great time for the IEA, and now Mark Littlewood has been an excellent CEO of the IEA. I think he's a brilliant TV performer and a brilliant writer. And I congratulate the IEA on their 60 years in business, and I wish you all another 60 years fighting for free markets, individual liberty, and classical liberalism. Thank you.